tell myself that I don't want to post negative shit on here anymore. Stuff that's kind of a downer to listen to, that reinforces the negative worldview that someone listening to this may already have. I don't want to feed into that kind of confirmation bias. I had wanted to, well, it's been my intention to try and present a more balanced view, something that, in doing so, in some measure, exalts myself and more ambitiously those who listen to it. I just figure there's already enough negative shit that sort of lowers people's vibrational state and makes them more susceptible to I guess to slide further down on that scale into a dark pit of hopelessness and despair. But yeah, I mean, I still try and do that to some extent. But at the same time, I kind of have this overwhelming desire to, I guess, engage in catharsis for myself, to sort of present things as I immediately see them, as they appear to me in my own experience, which is overall, for the most part, over time, generally fairly dismal. Lately I've been particularly getting into this state of mind where it's like I see how well, it's a very cynical state of mind wherein I perceive that no matter how hard one might endeavor to improve themselves or to remain reasonably optimistic, to struggle to find some small piece of reality that will allow them to be genuinely optimistic. And no matter how hard this is fought for, and if one does indeed find such a thing, no matter how hard one fights to sustain it, the immense, overwhelming force of the totality of all perceivable reality conspires to snatch it from one, and it does so in a seemingly incredibly easy way. It's, I suppose, something that we can, in the as above, so below sense, we can observe is a general rule within this reality. It takes a long time to build things up. Buildings, relationships, civilizations, businesses, whatever you can possibly think of that is constructed by the hands of man. Or I guess just things in general, right? Like, in nature, trees, mountains, things that take a long time to form, canyons, so on. All of this can be erased in a matter of moments. And it may have taken hundreds, thousands of years to construct, to form. And it's all erased in a matter of moments. In extreme cases, right? But either way, as a general rule, the disproportionate factor is at play. It's not an even thing. It's kind of harder than usual to articulate myself today. I feel a little bit more brain fogged, clouded over, just in a general fog and kind of mire. I've been listening to a lot of this guy Howdy McCoskey lately, his interviews that he's been conducting. You may know of him, people listening to this. Recently he's written a book called Exit the Cave, which the general thesis of which seems to be overwhelmingly holding a negative view towards this reality, that it's wholly irredeemable, and that the sole purpose of our life here should be to escape it, to find a way to escape it. That there's nothing that can be done here to improve or better the situation. That's a trap, it's a deception, a distraction, like so much else within this reality. Keeps our eyes away from the real problem at hand. Yeah. And so often the hosts, as they're discussing this with him, as he kind of lays out this very bleak view of this realm, they always try and, the hosts, that is, of the podcast and so on, try and bargain, in a sense. They try to put a optimistic spin on that which is being said, agreeing with him to a point, but then trying to redeem it in some way so as to justify their own continued participation within this, because they have a dog in the fight, so to speak. They're still in some way addicted to this, still attached. And I've seen that with other people, just in my own life, people I've conversed with. There's this theme of, the saying is in this country anyhow, that I live in, of wanting to have one's cake and also eat it. Of course, that's not possible. It's like people think, while still recognizing the profoundly negative, seemingly all-consuming nature of this realm, of this experience, that they can still somehow beat it at its own game, right? To I suppose reap the fruits that are offered within this realm, which are typically mechanisms which serve to trap one within it. Sex being a perfect example of this. And so someone will recognize this, that this is such a thing as a trap, that the pleasure is merely a means to an end, the end being to perpetuate the suffering, to bring new beings into this realm indefinitely. And recognizing this, but then still thinking that they can, get the pleasurable aspect of it, but without suffering any of the negative consequences. Beating the house at its own game. But in my view, the house always wins. Always wins. You're still going to be putting yourself at risk of sexually transmitted diseases. Still at the risk of unplanned pregnancies. I mean, no birth control measure is purely 100% effective. And the more you roll the dice, the higher the chances are that you're going to lose. And the house is going to win. And reflecting now, I'm kind of guilty of the same in many ways, but most recently with this attempt at trying to draw something from deep within myself, some means of cultivating a joy that is independent of the conditions of this realm, and therefore is not able to be corrupted by it, and is in some way more pure as a result of the conditions that that have engendered it. And I was initially working under the hypothesis that it was not going to be serving the the goals, the intentions of this realm of perpetuating suffering and so on. But of course, on further examination, it very much is, by way of keeping me complacent. Stops me from, by being contented in some small way, I cease to rebel in a more explicit way, to seek to find a way out. I get comfortable in some way, even though I still recognize how undesirable a place this is. I'm fashioning a cozy enclave for myself. And such a thing is kind of obscene, certainly, but the more pertinent issue is that it does keep me complacent. Fortunately, though, I have struggled to sustain it. I assume it's not in my life script to be a jolly person. even though there is most certainly that aspect to myself, it's filtered through a layer of cynicism and deadpan, gallows humor. Yeah, I would add perhaps more to this, but I'm struggling to think right now. I'm really fucking cold. I need to move around and get my body temperature up before I get hypothermia. So yeah, just a brief little rant, I suppose. Some thoughts to pick up on at a later date. Yeah, okay. Thanks for listening.